Generally speaking, most people think that during holidays, teachers do nothing. We sit around, lazing around, watching TV, and just biding our time until school starts back. And although that is the case sometimes, and for some teachers it's the case all the time, it's not the case for me. What many teachers do, including me, is that we continue to improve ourselves, continue to do exciting things with our lives, and continue to prepare ourselves for our students during our holidays. So I've got 6 weeks. I'm not going to spend it just watching TV, and neither should you students either. Whether you choose to spend it on doing schoolwork is up to you. But what I do suggest is that you at least use it to do something that's going to add to your brain, something that's going to increase the joy that you get out of life and contributes to your general future, whether it be through enjoyment, spiritual, physical growth, or the academic side. So what I'm going to be doing over the course of a few videos is just talking you through the sort of stuff that me as a teacher, as an art teacher, gets up to during the holiday, and maybe it can give you a few ideas. And for those of you who want to eventually go on to be teachers, it will hopefully give you an idea of the sort of stuff that we do as teachers, and how those of us who want to be effective and good at our job, how we do it. Before we jump in, don't forget to subscribe. This is going to be a series, a short series, which talks about what I as a teacher and I as a creator get up to in the summer holiday. And also we have other videos which deal with things that will interest you as well. Things like the current situation in terms of the education system and the GCSEs and the A-levels, and tutorials and analysis of anime and games as well. So without further ado, let's jump in. Alright, so I've got a pile of books here. These are all the books that I want to read this over the next 6 weeks. Okay, I might not get through all of them. I probably won't get through all of them, but I like to keep my aspirations high. Alright, I'm ambitious like that. Or I like to think of myself as ambitious at least. So, I've divided them into sections, and I might be reading some of them simultaneously. But I do want to go through each section book by book rather than jumping around. So, I'm going to start off with just books which I will read for enjoyment, because I don't read enough for enjoyment these days, I find. After I turned 15 and started focusing on my GCSEs, I found that I read less and less for enjoyment. I still did every now and then, but I always felt like I should have been doing something else, so I barely did it. So what we've got here is a book and a pile of comics. I am a comic artist, so this doubles as research as well. So first and foremost is Children of Time. Those of you who follow me on Instagram would know that I've been trying to read this for about 1.5 years, if not more. I'm currently about 1/5 of the way through it. I will finish it, hopefully, in the coming week. It's a sci-fi book. I haven't got any other fictional books to read because I'm not sure if I want to stick with sci-fi, which is what I've been reading quite a lot over the last few months. I might try out a different genre when it comes to fiction reading. I've also got a whole bunch of comics, like I said. Beatmatic Starkiller by Craig Green, really cool guy. I met him at a few MCM Comic Cons in London and Birmingham, and I've been meaning to get round to reading his comics for a while, and I'm really looking forward to it. Another artist that I met, if you look back on the channel, you actually see when I first came across the Angelic series back in 2018 at the Free Comic Book Day, where it was one of the free comics. They gave a section of it, and it's a good series from what I've heard. So I'm looking forward to reading those, and I'm going to reread through the Black Panther series, A Nation Under Our Feet series, because honestly the writing in these is brilliant, and I never did get right to the end. I still had one book to read at the time when I stopped reading them about 1 year ago. So that's my fiction pile for the moment. It might get thicker though. After that, I've got my general reading pile. So this is just stuff that interests me and that I just want a little bit more knowledge about. So this is sort of for fun as well, but it's a bit more non-fiction. So we've got Natives by Akala. Akala's a really cool guy. If you've met him before, I had the privilege of meeting him a few times. And loads of people have said that this book's really interesting. He of course is quite vocal about things that are going on within the world at the moment, and I think it will definitely probably open my eyes to a few new thoughts and things of historical intrigue as well, since I'm a bit of a history fan. On the theme of history, Black Artists in British Art, A History Since the 1950s by Eddie Chambers. I actually picked this up at... Where did I pick this up from? No, I didn't pick this up anywhere. This was actually ordered for me by my head of department. When I said I'd like to do more with Black History Month at school. She ordered this. I never got around to reading it because the year just got really, really hectic afterwards. So I'm hoping to read this and hopefully infuse some more Black history into our curriculum at school. Especially with the fact that we're now free to change up the curriculum a bit, considering that, you know, lockdown and all that, and social distancing measures means that we have to change the way we teach. So that's something that I'm looking forward to digging into. And then High Performance Habits. This is a book which I started, didn't get around to finishing. It has some really interesting points in there. Not everything that I necessarily agree with or I necessarily try to put into practice, but it did have some good points in there. A student actually advised me to read this. He said it helped him, and had read some good stuff about it, so I thought I'd give it a go. And I think I'll dip back in and probably finish it off. I'm looking at where my bookmark is in it, and it looks like I was about a fifth of the way through, so I'll just go back and see if there's anything that I can learn from there. Okay, so before moving on to the bulk of my reading material, I'm just gonna pull this back up, Drawn to Life, which looks into animation and the principles of animation from Disney and a Disney artist's perspective, and lots of images, lots of descriptions and explanations. I'm not going to necessarily go into animation. I think it's a bit too late for me to fully throw myself in. I don't really want to get into the industry, but I would like to learn some of the principles behind it, because I think it will really improve my gestures in drawing, getting across movement within my drawings, and especially within my comics, where it sort of is an animation slowed right down. That's sort of what comics are. So I'm really looking forward to go through this, and I might actually give animation a little bit of a go. Like I said, I'm not interested in fully going into it, but I might give it a little bit of a go, doing short things just to try out some new skills, and also to be able to give some assistance to my students, because quite a lot of my students are interested in going into animation, and it's such a bustling, busy industry right now, especially in the UK, which is fast becoming a front runner in the modern arts in terms of animation, game creation and game design and things like that. So the bulk of my books are based on education. This is what I'm talking about when it comes to how teachers try to keep themselves at a high level. Well, good teachers anyway, and ones that aren't happy to stay at the same level as they are. My principle is this. So imagine you have a doctor, and that doctor started practicing in 1980s. It's now 2020. 40 years have passed. Imagine if they're still using all the exact same methods, all the exact same medicines that were around when they first started practicing as a doctor. You know for certain that they would not be delivering the same level of care as all the other doctors, especially the new ones that had popped up. They wouldn't be giving the best to their patients. It's the same with us teachers. Stuff changes over time, and sometimes it can be year on year. There's new discoveries being made, so we need to keep up with that. And sometimes it's the old stuff, the principles that we need to go back to, and we need to look at those, and those will help us move forward, because there's always disputes going on. Sometimes things are thrown out, sometimes they're brought back in, sometimes new stuff's invented. All right, and that goes for all industries. If you're staying still, then you're putting yourself in a precarious situation as a practitioner of whatever profession you do, and just in terms of as a person doing a job. If you're not moving forward and staying abreast of recent updates, then you risk being replaced by someone younger and better than you. So let's make a start. First one, Cleverlands. I read the majority of this book. This was part of our school book club. Us teachers have one. I read the majority of this book before. Very, very interesting. Looks at different places around the world and how they do education and what we can learn from them. I tried some of the stuff. It was pretty cool. Some of it worked, some of it didn't. I'd like to go through it again just to fully get the gist, because in my recent research, I've come across some of the ideas that were mentioned here that I didn't fully understand, but now that I've seen them put into practice, I get it, and I want to go fully into it again. When the adults change, everything changes. Very good book. didn't completely finish it, so I want to go back, start at the beginning and just work my way through so I can fully understand this, because when it comes down to it, especially with the situation we're going through right now, us, the adults, the teachers, we're going to be the driving force, making sure that you students, if you are a student watching this, that you students and you parents as well are fully equipped and prepared for the mess that the academic system's turned into at the moment. And we need to make sure that you guys are, getting the best deal for the effort that you're putting in. Bell hooks, teaching to transgress. I've never read it from beginning to end. I tend to pick out certain chapters and just go for it, because when I was doing this, I was studying my PGCE almost over half a decade ago, I think. And really what I want to do is go back to the foundations, because Bell Hooks is amazing in her analysis of education and the foundations and what it should be built on. So I want to go back and just read through this. Anyone that studied at Goldsmiths, especially if you studied art, your art PGCE at Goldsmiths, your teaching qualification there, you'll be very familiar with Bell Hooks. They mention it a lot. One thing that's also mentioned a lot in your teaching education, for those of you that want to be teachers, is Pedagogy of the Oppressed by Paulo Freire. And I literally cannot remember what this is about. So I remember it's one of the first books that I read. I want to go back and read it and fully understand it now that I'm properly embedded within the system, and because I think I'll be looking at it with a fresh perspective that will allow me to really make the most of it. I'm not sure if any of you are familiar with the SSAT. I wasn't familiar with them before this year, but they've got a whole pile of resources that I've been meaning to work my way through. I've read some of them already, but I just want to go over them again because it has been a while and a lot has happened, and I think that they're really relevant. So they've got quite a few journals and essays, especially, which are very, very useful for teachers. And these ones are all about social justice and the different aspects that will help us achieve or improve it within this time period that we're living in. The Working Class, a book that I picked up at a convention, an SSAT one actually. So this book, I can't remember why I even picked it up, but I know that I was compelled to buy it because it's very relevant to the stuff that I'm interested in, which ties in with the social justice and systematic issues and inequalities, and trying to break ceilings and get students who are disadvantaged from the beginning to a position where they're not disadvantaged as teenagers and as adults. So really interested in finally digging into this. I bought this back in January, February. Still haven't even opened one page. So I'm looking forward to really diving into this and getting some knowledge out of that. So that's my book list for the summer holidays. I'm hoping to get through at least half of that. I'm going to try and do a book a day, a book a week for the proper books. And for the comics, I'm going to try and burst through about 3 or 4 of those per day. I tend to be able to burn through them quite quickly. Well, not quite quickly, but I tend to be able to do longer sessions of those. It helps with the imagination and with keeping focused on it for a longer amount of time. So hopefully this is giving you an idea of sort of reading that I'm going to be doing over the course of this summer holiday. Hopefully this has inspired you as well to jump into reading or jump into learning something that will add to your life. One thing that I haven't mentioned is that I'm also going to be spending some time to read religious material as well. Reading things like my Bible and journals and things like that. It's probably actually the only things that I've been reading regularly since a young child. That's one thing that I never stopped, and it's because, of course, you need that balance of physical, mental, and of course spiritual as well to keep you a nice rounded human being. So make sure that you got a nice balance of everything. You may not be religious, but there should still be something which feeds that part of you. So let me know, what are you reading over the holiday? Are you going to mix it up, or have you got a set goal? Do you want to read a certain amount a day? Let me know down in the comments below. Also, don't forget to subscribe so that you don't miss out on the rest of this series where I go over things that I'm doing in the summer holiday. And also, we have other videos to do with education. Some will be appearing on screen now, and there'll be much more to come in the future. So that's all for now. Until next time.